we need something to hold all the shoes that gather up at our front door. So the next project is to build a little cabinet to hold all the shoes and give us a place to put our keys and all that. Very simple design, rectilinear pretty much, and I'm going to use some paper-backed half-inch plywood, which is really nice because it takes paint well, and I'm going to paint this thing, and a little bit of scraps and some nice wood that I have left over from another project to be the top surfaces.
I start by cutting the half-inch plywood that'll form the main body. It's not safe to move a 4x8 sheet over the table saw, so instead I break it down into manageable pieces with a circular saw. Then I cross-cut them to the right size on my table saw. These vertical pieces are going to get dado cuts to hold the fixed shelves. I have a dado blade in the table saw that's adjusted to exactly the thickness of the shelf material. I like to mark where all the cuts are going to be on both sides because it's surprisingly easy to make a simple mistake when you're doing repetitive cuts, so it pays to double and triple check as you go. Now I'm drilling holes to receive the supports for the adjustable shelves. I use a jig with pre-drilled holes and a fixed offset to get the holes right. I'm putting holes on both sides of the middle pieces, so I offset the front and back slightly so that they don't go through. Later I'll hammer a little threaded cup into all the holes. It will receive a matching threaded post which can be screwed in and moved to allow for shelf adjustments. I tried spray painting all the panels. I definitely need to learn how to do this better. I ended up finishing all the panels with a brush to get a good finish later. To do the carcass assembly, I used a little glue and screws in the dados so you won't see them when the thing is finished. Just putting the pieces together one at a time, they go together pretty well. Little hammer here and there to make it work. And once I put the top and bottom pieces on, we'll be good to go. I'll just set it aside to dry for a bit. I'm going to face the cabinet with some nice white oak I have sitting around the shop. I'm going to use the same wood for the drawer fronts, the top surface, and the seat. You'll see how all that comes together later. For now, I just start by cutting half-inch wide strips. I'm being careful to keep them in the order that they're cut to ensure the color and the grain look consistent. Now I just use a little glue and brad nails to put the face in place. I do this on the floating shelf pieces as well. So here I'm going to fill the holes that are left over from the brad nails with a mixture of glue and sawdust from the wood. It makes a really good match, and then I simply sand it all down. I'm using a nice friendly finish from Tried and True. It's just beeswax and linseed oil. Easy to apply and easy to renew later if necessary. A little buffing brings out a really nice, rich look. Well, I'm ready to start the installation. This is the base the cabinet will sit on. It's made of more scrap wood, just 2x4s dimensioned down to the right height to align the bottom show edge of the cabinet with the existing baseboard. I'm going to screw this base to the floor and then screw the cabinet to the base and to the wall. back of the cabinet's covered with 1/4-inch plywood and it's painted white. I'm making a decorative molding with poplar wood to refine the look. Pocket screws work well to lock the pieces together here. I then put a subtle chamfer on the edges, sand everything and attach it to the back, and paint the whole thing white with gloss oil paint. I'm installing the cabinet just inside our front door. It's a slightly tricky transition point between the entryway and the front room. To make it work, I'm removing some decorative molding on the wall and the existing baseboard. I'll then install the cabinet and wrap new baseboard around it. Here I'm cutting out the existing trim and I'm trying to minimize the damage to the surrounding wall. Now I'm taking out the baseboard. Little cutting, little prying, and we're good to go. Now the base goes in and it's screwed down to the floor. And yeah, literally screwing it directly in. And now the cabinet goes in. I'm installing a toggle bolt in the wall because there's no convenient stud. The cabinet is then screwed to the wall, and I'm screwing it directly down to the base as well to lock it into place. It's not going anywhere. Back in the shop, I'm finishing up the white oak and the seat panels. I glued up the panels, filled the knots with epoxy, and have chamfered the edges. Now I'm using a card scraper to get the final surface, and then I'll finish them. More tried and true. It's a nice look, and buffing with steel wool really works well here. Back again. Simply installing by sliding it in place, and I'll screw it in from underneath. Back to the shop again, I'm going to make 3 drawers. These are made of the same 1/2-inch plywood, and I'll add an oak piece for the face. The drawers are pretty simple. I cut a 1/4-inch groove around the bottom and a groove at the edges that will lock the 4 sides in place. A little glue and clamping is all it needs. There's mechanical reinforcement from that interlocking groove. So I'm finishing up the drawer faces now. More tried and true. You can tell the difference in the color. Once they've dried, I drill holes for all the pull hardware. Now, here's a nice trick to get an even gap around your drawer fronts. I put the drawers in place, and then I line up a drawer using cards for spacing. I then drill through the pre-drilled holes to perfectly locate the fronts of the drawers. Now, adding the hardware, the drawers are finished and ready to go. And this is the final product. I added the base molding on 3 sides, and it's now completely built in. There were a lot of steps in this project, but nothing was particularly difficult. We've now got a tidier solution for our shoes and a place for keys as well. I guess I'm the first one to get the keys in the drawer. Thanks for watching, everyone.